Hello guys, Fensmarken here and welcome to a World of Warcraft video where I'm going to be addressing the removal of the bonus rolls and what implications I foresee this having for the raiding scene. I apologize for the mess behind me. We're currently having our walls painted, so everything has to be kind of moved away from the walls so that the painters can get their job done. In this video I will not be addressing the fact that this just overall limits the amount of loot available in the game. It's a loot restriction, there's letters available. That's it, I don't really care about it. This is sort of the first time I try to make a video with an actual script and where I don't just do the one take fits all, trying to structure the video a little bit so that I make sure I get all my points across. I try to make sure I don't repeat myself too much, and also one of the things I have a tendency to do is pick a tangent and then run out of it until I reach the end of that tangent and every tangent I find along the way, making the video a lot longer than it should have been, needs to be, and also making the actual process of making the video take a lot longer than it otherwise should have. Okay, so Blizzard recently made a blue post stating that they are going to be removing bonus rolls for Shadowlands and that the functionality of bonus rolls should now be captured within the Great Vault. This change and the wording of the blue post makes me wonder whether they've actually thought this system through. The blue post exactly says bonus rolls no longer exist and the Great Vault captures the value they used to provide to raiders. Now, what value did it provide to raiders? Well, it provided an extra chance at a specific boss, right? So if you wanted that Raden trinket, you kill Raden, it's not on the loot table, you bonus roll. It's not in the bonus roll either, but you had an extra chance, right? And this is what the Great Vault is now supposed to do for you. The way I see it is if they've thought the system through, then saying that is deliberately deceptive and misleading, or they're willing to risk some really bad effects on a raiding roster. And this change was not planned from the beginning. It's come very late in the beta cycle. The blue post is 4 days old, so the decision probably hasn't been made until like a few weeks ago, maybe, if we're being optimistic. And how do I know it wasn't planned? Well, here's how I know.
So what if instead of the loot chest, there was some other device, some contraption that measured the things that you'd done, that had some sense of how many dungeons you'd done, of what difficulty or what your PvP rating was, or what bosses you'd bonus rolled, and it could instead materialize or create one of a list of items. And instead of clicking the chest and it spitting out a random item, you saw 5 or 6 options to choose among.
As you can see here, Ian is clearly detailing how bonus rolls is going to impact what items is going to be available in the system that is now the Great Vault. So what is the Great Vault? Now, the Great Vault is essentially a new and improved Mythic Plus cache. Right now, you do 1 Mythic Plus whatever level, you get a cache at the end of the week, and it has a random item in it. Now, in Shadowlands, you do your Mythic Plus, it'll award you with a random box at the end of the week, everything's the same. However, if you do, right now it's 4 Mythic Pluses, you'll get 2 items. You can only pick one, but you get 2 options. If you do 10 Mythic Pluses, you get 3 options. So you have 3 times the chances of getting something useful. The same is the case with PvP gear. Right now, you cap your conquest out, you get your PvP box, it's based on your rating, you get 1 item, 1 random item between all the PvP gear. In Shadowlands, you earn conquest points. If you earn 125, you get 1, 350, you get 2, 875, you get 3. Again, you only get 1 item, but you have 3 options. Now, if this is starting to sound a little too good to be true, it's because it is. Right now you get 2 items if you do both Mythic Plus and PvP cap. In Shadowlands, you'll only get 1. You can only ever take 1 piece of gear out of the Great Vault. But honestly, I'd still argue that it's an upgrade. Like, it's pretty cool, right? You get to pick. Rather than just get 1 random shit item, you at least have some options. And if you don't like any of them, they've said that there will be some sort of currency. Hopefully that currency can be spent buying an item that you actually want. How this currency is going to work, I don't think we have any idea. I don't know, at least. I'm not holding my breath for you to be able to pick whichever item that you want, because if you look at the Titan Residuum right now, you can gamble every 3 weeks, but if you want to buy a specific one, it takes like 10 weeks or so, a little less, 8 weeks or something. But overall, I think for the Mythic Plus chest and for the PvP chest, it's a pretty good upgrade. Now, the raiding one. If you kill 3 bosses, you get 1 option. If you kill 7 bosses, you get 2 options. And if you kill 10 bosses, you get 3 options. There's only 10 bosses in the raid. This means on Mythic, when you're clearing the entire raid, if you're benched for just 1 boss, you won't get 3 options. And while you might say, okay, if I'm benched on Mythic for a boss or 2, I'm just gonna go out and finish my 10th boss kill on Heroic and get my 3rd option. You can do that, but that 3rd option is going to be Heroic quality, assuming you did Heroic, because if you do Normal, it'll be Normal. Ian Hazakosis has tweeted out how it currently works. It is subject to change. He's using the Mythic Plus part of the Great Vault as an example, but I think it's pretty safe to assume that all 3 options is going to work the same way. So his tweet is, the way it currently works, using your example, if you did 9 plus 15s and 1 plus 3, is that you'd see 2 plus 15 options and 1 plus 3 option in your 3 Mythic Keystone slots for the week. So what that means is, it will take, if you have to do 10 to get 3 options, it'll get your 10 best runs, and the 3rd option is going to be the lowest one. But it is important to note that the lowest one you do within the 10 you have to do is going to determine what the 3rd option is going to be quality-wise. So for raiding, that means if you don't kill all 10 bosses on Mythic, you can't just go and do it again like you can with Mythic Plus. If you do 9 plus 15s and then do a 3 with your friend who's shit, then you can always go back and do another 15 and you can get your 3rd item upgraded all the way up. You cannot do that with raiding, because when the boss is dead, he's dead. He's not going to be alive. You can't do it with another group. You can't do it with another guild. It's just, you've only killed 9 Mythic bosses and that's it. You can't get the high reward. Now, they might change it. I don't think they will. I don't think they're going to make different sub-rules for the different parts of the vault. I think that would be confusing. I don't think they'll do that, but they might. And as he says, the way it currently works, so it is subject to change. Now you might ask, why is this a problem? The Great Vault sounds pretty pog, right? I'd agree. It is pretty cool. Like, right now you have 1 shot at a Mythic Plus dungeon item every week, and if it's not there, then it's not there, and it's likely not to be there because there's hundreds and hundreds of items. In Shadowlands, you'll have 3 options you can pick, and if it don't work out, you can get a currency. Hopefully that will allow you to buy what you need, and you'll be better off. You'll be set for BIS. That's great. And it even adds in some raid options, so if there's a trinket eluding you, that might show up on the raiding one, or maybe you can use the currency to actually buy raid items. That would be pretty cool. I'm all for it. The issue I'm having here is that the Great Vault now has to capture the functionality of the bonus rolls. So let's go back to what is the functionality of the bonus rolls. It is to target a specific boss that has a piece of loot that you want. So if you want that Vita trinket, you bonus roll right in. If you want that big, juicy 485 two-hander, you bonus roll N'Zoth. How is the Great Vault going to capture this functionality? Is it going to capture this functionality? I'd say is more likely to be the question. Now, this depends on how the loot table for the raiding part of the Great Vault is going to function. The way I see it, there's 3 options. Option 1, it can pull from whichever bosses you've killed this week. Number 2, it can just pull from a random boss in the instance. Or number 3, it pulls from a random boss that you've killed ever. So let's say the first week you kill 5 bosses, the next week you only kill 3, then it'll still pull from the 5 bosses because you have killed them on your character. So let's go through them, because these solutions have some different faults and problems to them. and I think neither of them are very desirable. So let's start with solution 1. Now, this is the closest to what bonus rolls are, because you can target your bosses and you're going to be sure that the loot that comes in your Great Vault is going to be one of the 3 bosses you've killed. This, however, proves a bit of a challenge if you actually have to put a raid comp together. Now, the thresholds right now for the raiding part of the Great Vault is 3, 7, and 10. It is pretty unlikely that there are 7 bosses in the raid that has loot from you before you, outside of maybe the first couple of times you kill them. So ideally, if you want to target something, you only want to kill 3 bosses, because every boss you kill after the 3rd is going to add another boss to your loot table, and it's not going to give you an extra chance. So you're just lowering your chance at pulling the boss you want, thusly lowering your chance of pulling the items that you want. So why is this a problem? Yeah, you just go in, you kill the 3 bosses you want, you get one boss in your Great Vault part, and you hopefully get the item from the boss that you want. Now, if you're alone, that's not a problem. However, if you have to put together a raid roster for 20 people, that becomes a problem. Now, what you're looking at here is basically a loot sheet, very similar to what the guild I'm currently in used for Ny'alotha. It's also the Ny'alotha bosses, because the way I filled it out is basically I took a look at all of our raiders and saw what they were wearing and identified which one of them was from the raid, and I put a need on that boss. So what you can see is there's a lot of reds, those mean nothing. There's a few yellow, I just filled them in for fun because they're minor upgrades or off specs. Basically I filled them in where it's like off spec or PvP. And then there are some greens. Now, filling a roster for the last 2 bosses is going to be pretty easy, right? Because everybody wants that 485 gear. That's going to be pretty juicy. However, how are you going to field a roster for Skitra when none of your tanks wants the boss? Now, what the spreadsheet is supposed to be illustrating is that there will be dead bosses. Bosses that nobody wants to play, or bosses that not many players want to play. But these bosses nonetheless have to die in order for you to get to the bosses that people do want to play. So ask you this: would you want to clear Rathian knowing that you need to bonus roll Raden, Carapace, and N'Zoth? Would you want to clear Rathian and Hivemind with a 40% chance that you're going to bonus roll one of them? And that would be your last bonus roll. Or your only bonus roll in the case of the Great Vault if you only clear less than 7 bosses. If this is the case, that you pull from whatever you've killed, I foresee that some officers are going to have some headaches trying to figure out how to balance it out so that people don't come and clear bosses that they don't want, so they don't risk their bonus rolls being wasted. Essentially, it's not bonus rolls anymore, it's the Great Vault, but it's supposed to be a bonus roll, right? If you have to clear Rathian, you have to clear Maud, you have to clear Skitra, and then you get to be in for Carapace and N'Zoth, you'll have cleared 5 bosses. That will earn you 1 bonus roll. That will make it so you have a 20% chance to bonus roll N'Zoth, a 20% chance to bonus roll Carapace, and a 60% chance to bonus roll things that are useless trash for you. And especially as you move further along the tier, and these little pieces that you need become less and less, fewer and far between, people will want to do less bosses. How are you going to clear 10 bosses if nobody wants to do the first 7? Because the last 3 is where the good loot's at. This way sorta allows you to still target, right? Because it is only going to pull from the bosses you've killed that week. So you can target 3 bosses that you want. However, if you only want 1 boss bonus rolled, then you have to kill 3 to get your bonus roll. So rather than you being able to just bonus roll the boss that you need, you now have a 33% chance to actually bonus roll the correct boss. And I hope this is illustrated as well. Not only are you losing a lot of agency, even with this that has the most agency out of the 3 options, you're also potentially doing something really harmful to a raid roster. Like, how are you ever going to field a roster for the first couple of bosses when people only need the last couple of bosses for loot? Like, the only way you can do it without forcing people to risk not getting their bonus rolls is with an old army. Because right now, the first tier is 3, right? Let's say you need 3 bosses. Say there's 3 bosses you need. You kill 3 bosses, you get 1 item. You're guaranteed that this item comes from a boss that you need. You're not guaranteed that it is an item you need, but at least you're bonus rolling the right boss. However, the next threshold for a second is 7. So you're getting double the chances, but you're also cutting your chances in more than half of getting the correct bosses, because you're introducing 4 extra bosses onto the 3 you already had. If the loot table for the Great Vault is based on what you've killed for the week, I foresee it being a fight for the bench. Or, alternatively, your guild has to field an old army, essentially clearing most of the raid with ults, because you only bring the mains in when they need some loot. And that has shit show written all over it. Now let's move on to solution 2, where it works the same way as the Mythic Plus chest does at the moment, where it just pulls a random item from the entire loot table. So you kill 3 bosses and you get 1 piece of loot you can pick, and it's just going to be pulled from the entire raid loot table. This is essentially Titan Forging. The last bosses drop 7 eye level and higher loot. If they are available on the loot table without you having to kill them, you're essentially bringing back Titan Forging. Since you can get a 287 weapon, the best in the game, from Sire Denathrius, you could potentially have that on week 2 of Mythic if you got lucky, and this is the solution they pick. I don't think I have to spend too much time talking about how that would be a problem. Essentially, that's the gist of it. You could get items from the raid without ever having to see the boss that actually drops it, if it's just the way the Mythic Plus chest works right now, and it just pulls a random item out of the Great Vault. Another problem here regarding the loot table is whether or not it sees the entire raid as the loot table, and thus it just rolls from the items. So essentially, if you have 2 bosses, one drops 3 items, the other one drops 2 items, then you'll have a 60% chance of getting an item from the first boss and only a 40% chance of getting an item from the second boss. Or whether it works off, it's gonna choose which boss you then roll. So in the case it rolls the first boss, you'll have a 33% chance of getting like a specific one of the 3 items, and if it rolls boss 2, you'll have a 50% chance of getting a specific item. So whether or not it works based off the total items available in the raid, or it works off of the bosses, is another issue that could possibly be a thing. If they go for the, it's just gonna pull a boss or a loot piece out of the raid. Now I'm skipping over solution 2 a little bit quickly because I want to get to solution 3, as all, or at least most, of the issues pertaining to solution 3 are also valid for solution 2. The only specific issue solution 2 has over solution 3 is the Titan Fortune, where you have a chance of getting these insanely powerful items before you've actually earned them, or before you've actually had a chance to loot them in the first place, thusly transcending what you could do with a bonus roll in some way. However, where solution 2 and 3 definitely does not transcend what you can do with a bonus roll is in the agency. Because when you're just gonna pull a random piece of gear or a random boss, you you lose the control that the bonus rolls are supposed to give you. Where right now, if I need the Carapace weapons for my Frost Decay, I kill Carapace and I bonus roll him. If the Great Vault decides to follow upon solution 2 or 3, where it's just gonna pull 1, 2, or 3 random items out of the boss, or out of the raid, sorry, or 1, 2, 3 random boss loot tables out of the raid, all of that agency that you have with the bonus roll currently is lost, because the game will be deciding which boss you're bonus rolling. This loss of agency also means that it is way more valuable to actually be in the raid, as opposed to solution 1, where you want to target the specific bosses that you need and not kill anything else. Here, you want to never be benched, because never being benched gives you 3 chances, rather than being benched for just 1 boss will give you 2 chances. This means that your officers or guildmaster or whoever does your raid comp needs to do a bit of a jigsaw puzzle, because this way you want to make sure that your raiders get 7 bosses killed. It's not as bad as trying to make sure you kill 10 bosses with people only killing the 3 bosses they actually want. But there is going to be a bit of management to do, because getting below that 7 boss kill, if you're clearing 10 bosses, is going to feel really bad. And when you are clearing only 6 or 7, then there are people who's just going to only get 1 piece of loot. And it's going to feel bad, because ideally you don't want to have only 20 people, so somebody has to sit. This system is going to make the bench feel really bad. Like, it already feels sort of bad to be benched, if it's not because you don't need the boss and you don't want the boss. This is going to make the bench feel even worse. Right now, if you're benched for a boss you don't want loot from, who cares? If you're benched from a boss you want loot from, that obviously feels bad. But now, if you're benched, not only if you're benched for a boss you need loot for, it feels bad, but you're also being punished at the end of the week, because now you can't get 3 items, or maybe you can't get 2 items to pick from. Moving on to an issue that spans across all 3 solutions is if you're in a bit of a bad guild that doesn't clear 3 bosses the first week, you don't get a bonus roll the first week. If you don't clear 3 bosses the second week, you don't get a bonus roll the second week. If you don't clear, if you're not in for the 3 bosses that your guild can clear, if you're not in for one of them, you don't get a bonus roll. You're not getting stronger, you're not more likely to get in. If your guild can only clear 6 bosses, you'll never get 2 bonus rolls, unless you're satisfied with heroic loot. It might be the case that Blizzard has something planned that they haven't yet revealed that could solve this. It could be essentially a bonus roll, but that doesn't have a chance to give an item, but you coin a boss and that decides which boss is going to show up in your raid cache. So if you do 3 bosses, you get to coin 1. If you do 7 bosses, you get to coin 2. If you do 10 bosses, you get to coin 3. And when I say coin, it, like I said, it does not give you an item when you coin it, but it makes it so that this is the boss that provides the loot table for your vault. That could be a way to solve it. This would also require you to be in for the actual boss that you get the loot from. I think that might be too powerful though. You're essentially giving yourself, in some cases, a 50-50 chance of getting what you want. I hope this has been somewhat informative. I'm open to hearing what you guys think in the comment sections. If you think I'm all wrong, if you think I'm right, if you think there's something I missed, I'd be happy to hear about it in the comment section. I've been reading Twitter and I see a lot of people liking the bonus roll being removed. I don't know if they are actually raiders at anything above heroic. I'm not gonna sit here and be an elitist or anything. I am by no stretch of the imagination a top 100 player or anything. I think I'm in a... Currently, I think the guild I'm in is ranked like 300 something world. Maybe 360. I can't remember. I think we're aiming for top 250 world for Shadowlands tier 1. So I'm in no means a top anything raider. But the biggest gripe I saw with the coins was that people would forget them. And people would have to spend gold on them. So that's why they like them being gone. Why don't you just not buy them then? But anyways, this is the first video I've made in this format. I hope it turns out good. I hope you enjoy it. And I hope I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.